last time we already get the chat data. However, this chat data do not have the friend data, so it cannot display the photos and also cannot display the name. So now we are going to create a function to get the friend data. So we're back to our project and go to the root folders, and then we create a folder called utilities because we want to create a functions that help us to get the friend data. So we type get friend data .js, and inside this we import a few things. We have to import the get of to get the current user, and we have to get these two functions from the file store because we need this, and we also have to get the DB from the Firebase config. So the first is we get the current users, and then we are going to filter the friend ID. The users is not equal to the current user ID, because if you look at the data, you can see each chat has two ID. One is the user and the other is his friend. So if the user ID is not equal to the current user ID, which means this is the friend ID. And since this is the array, so in order to get the friend ID, we have to select the first one, and actually this is the only one in the array. And now we get the document by pointing to the collections users, because if you look at this, we have the users, and if we have the ID, we can point to that user. And now we get the document, and then we return this data to the component. And so now we can go to the chat item. So we go to the component, we find chat, and then we go to here because there are something that we need to change, and we cannot get the photo URL directly. So we type ID, and we have the user, and timestamp we will deal with it later. And the latest message we just type the default of hi at this time. And then to get the friend data, we have to add the use effect to get the friend data. And so if the users dot length is greater than 0, then we pass the users, and then we set the friend as data. And at this time we still do not have the state friend, so we have to add the use state and then friend, and then we place the empty object as the initial state, and we have to import the use state and also the use effect. And now we can go to the return part, and by changing this to friend.photo URL, and this is friend.displayName, and we have the latest message, and we comment this because we do not have timestamp at this moment. And then we back to the sidebar because it is load at the sidebar, and now we do not want to use the div, we just want to use the chat component. So let's see whether we have import the chat component on the top, and maybe we import this, so it should already on the top. Now we have the chat component, but we do not have the timestamp, and we have the key is equal to the chat.id, and also the ID is equal to the chat.id. And instead of passing this, we are going to pass the users is equal to chat.users, because if you take a look on this again, the chat only has the user data, so we have to pass the chat.users. Now we already has all of this, and now we can take a look on our website, and now we can see the get friend data haven't been imported at the chat.js. So at here we go to this one and import the get friend data and save it. Now we can see the friend data already displayed at the left hand side, and it has the avatar and also the name, and it has the latest message, the default message. So now we have to delete the unnecessary one, is the At the sidebar, there are the chat. We want to delete this ID, so we can delete this one and save it. Now there are only the avatars and the names left on the left side.